I am super delighted right now, especially because I'm talking to Andrea in my hometown of Montreal, and that to me is exciting enough. So welcome, Andrea, to our Leaders Who Care series.
Thank you, Mark. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, finally we got you on here, and we're doing some good stuff together. So let's get started. If you can briefly introduce yourself, family, where you're from, a little bit about your background, and then we'll hit it from there.
Yes, of course. So if you're wondering where the accent is from, well, I'm originally actually from Romania. I was born in Romania, and I speak 4 languages. So let's just say that this leads me to a point where every language I speak with an accent. But other than that, I've basically done many different things. And if you're really curious to know, my parents were aspiring for me to become a doctor. And so all my studies basically in my younger days were focused on chemistry, physics, biology to prepare for medical school. And just as I was getting ready for medical school, I told my parents the bad news that I was not passionate about going to this field and went into business. So that led eventually to getting a business degree and a master's degree in finance and international business and a PhD in economics that led me to do some amazing things in some great international organizations where I've had the opportunity to lead phenomenal individuals from all parts of the world. I've had basically team members, representing all the cultures imaginable. And I've really just had this huge fascination, I would say, as a result of these experiences, whereby I've had this human curiosity. And I've always been fascinated by, what does it take for an individual to truly strive, to truly live with joy and happiness. And as a result of the various senior management roles that I've played and in managing global businesses, my focus has always been on the human side in trying to understand how do we achieve the results that we need to achieve as a team, as an organization, but at the same time, how do we make it fun? And how do I ensure that everyone is motivated and growing and thriving in the process? So that's really, in a nutshell, a little bit about me and my key passions and interests.
Well, you've answered all my questions, so it's nice having you. And no, tell us a little bit about your family.
Oh, my family is absolutely amazing and wonderful. My parents actually have had a huge influence on my life, and it actually started when we left the communist regime in Romania, and everyone told my parents that was an impossible mission, particularly to leave legally, which was the case for us. And to have 5 people leave the country legally during the communist time was quite an adventure. And I learned a lot during that time. I was quite young. I was around 10 years old. But what was really interesting is that it has really defined who I am today. And whenever someone tells me this is impossible, Andrea, to achieve, well, I'm there and I'm like, I'll prove you wrong, because this persistence that my parents have instilled in me at a very young age lives basically so deeply within me, and everything that I've done until now has been fueled by this drive and persistence and ambition to truly not only achieve great things, but also be considerate in terms of what type of impact do I truly aspire to have on this world.
And you do have a husband and kids, right?
Yes. My husband is absolutely amazing. We've been together for quite a long time. And the 2 kids also, 12 and 16, are absolutely incredible, trilingual. So it's been, as I said, a very blessed journey on the family side.
No, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. And sometimes we forget to talk about all that part, and we go right to the business part. So I'm super glad you shared that. And it was one of the things that I liked a lot about you when we first met, was the foundation that you brought to the table. And you're not related to Nadia Comaneci, right?
No, other than citizenship wise, I still have the Romanian citizenship. That's about it.
So before you kind of went into this, but before we delve further, tell us, share with us a little bit about your why. And is that, as you say, when you discovered it, when you were, escaping from Romania, or when did that really happen? And basically, why do you do what you do?
Mhm. So I was much too young when we left Romania to truly decide on my why for this life. But it has been a lingering question that I've been exploring, and I think it's in constant evolution. I've been seeking to find my purpose through all the various activities that I've been doing. But particularly the people that know me, and I think even when we met the first time, they call me like the energy bunny. Like they, if you really would need like an energy boost or a laughter boost, just give me a call, and and I'll make sure that I elevate your energy. So it has become, if you wish, intrinsically the foundation of my purpose is how do I make the people that come in my life, how do I make their lives or their day better? How do I make them smile? How do I make them reflect on their life journey or on their purpose? And how do I help them grow as individuals? And whether it's, again, with family, friends, or the team members that I've had the pleasure to collaborate with, and peers, it has always been, I would say, the key foundation that really drives everything that I do. And a lot of the books that I've written, the conferences that I give, it's all about reflecting on that impact that I can have on people. And often, if I'm giving a conference and there's thousands of people, I'm like, wow, if I've impacted in a positive way some of these people and they walk away with something that has transformed their lives, that's really what motivates me. That's my why. But it's very interesting because you see, I've been very outwardly focused in terms of how can I contribute to other people's lives, their journey, and so on. And recently, I was in contact with someone that has written a wonderful book, which is called Purposehood. And he was saying, Andrea, you can't just be focused on being altruistic and just, continuously giving to others. You also have to be thinking about yourself. And I was like, wow, that is so true, because if you're just giving to others and giving your time and attention to helping others thrive and make them happy, and you forget about yourself in the process, you forget about your own well-being and your own needs, that could lead to a lot of discontent. So as I said, doing what I do and my why is in a continuous evolution.
No, and it's so right on. One of my favorite quotes, I'm sure you've heard me say it, is from Maya Angelou, who says most people forget what you've said, forget what you've done, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And even with what I do with talent, I did a workshop once about stop looking for a job and be more interested in other people. And let's face it, if we're all human, and if someone makes us feel good, then there's probably a good chance that there will be something positive that'll happen from that. And before we get into Sparks 5 and what we're doing with Fifth Element, and I don't know how much you want to share, but my grandparents were from Kyiv, actually, speaking of all the Ukrainian thing going on, and my mom too, and my aunt. But they would always talk, maybe like most parents, but with another accent. They would say, the most important thing is your health, and then education, but health. And it wasn't like a branding or a slogan, it was for real. You had a personal health experience, obviously, even after you were already in, deep in well-being, as a career, if you will. If you share whatever you want to share about that, but mostly about how that clearly aligns with your belief, how it clearly aligns with how you're trying to make an impact in well-being.
Yes, so indeed, my journey and focus and this curiosity that I've had about how do I make the choices that elevate my mental focus, my physical energy, has really been at the center for many, many years in terms of what I've done on a personal side. But through all the research I've been doing over the years, I've decided actually to turn it into a profession. And that's what actually sparked the idea to create a holistic well-being application when we launched Sparks 5. And I was so passionate, and I had tested everything literally that I had read in terms of extensive research on a global scale, and that I've tested it on myself. And when I've seen the benefits in terms of energy, in terms of vitality, in terms of mental clarity, and so on, I was like, wow, I have to share this with the world. I have to let others know these secrets that I've packaged. And that's really what led to the launch of Sparks 5. And I was so, as I said, passionate about this that I invested all the necessary money to actually launch the application on my own, and went on it 100% on my own, which is quite a risky proposition now that I think about it, after the fact. But I was also very fortunate along the way, as I was meeting with different people and I was sitting on various boards that were really very focused on philanthropic causes that were close to my heart. I actually met some wonderful people, and two individuals became investors in the company, became my business partners, and that led really to the growth and evolution of Sparks 5, which has been truly wonderful. But life had other plans. And when you're talking about health challenges, well, it's totally surprised me from one day to the next with these huge facial pains that I was experiencing that I could not understand. And let's just say that it led to a diagnostic of trigeminal neuralgia, which is a condition that basically stems from a nerve that you have in your brain that controls all the facial muscles. And anything that I would do, from talking, laughing, eating, drinking, brushing my teeth, you name it, would create excruciating pain. So as you can imagine, giving conferences was painful, to say the least. It was really horrible. But the sad thing at the point when I got the diagnostic was also that this was an incurable disease that the doctor basically said you'll have for the rest of your life. And the best thing we can do is actually help you manage the pain. So as you can imagine, being so focused on well-being, exercising 7 days a week, even the shampoos I was using were all organic. Like, everything was really focused on making healthy lifestyle choices. And when I got the diagnostic, for me, was a huge surprise, because I had never been sick in ages. And a lot of the choices that I have made had really, as I said, just boosted my energy and my health in completely incredible ways. But eventually that led to an even more dire diagnostic, whereby they identified the cause of the irritation that I had in the brain that was actually connected to a tumor that had been growing for over 10 years. So as you can imagine, when you get this diagnostic and when you think truly about the brain, and this is your computer, right? That fueled everything from your movement to your speech to your consciousness and so on. And it was tremendously hard to take. And that's why, as I said, I mean, my family has been tremendously supportive in the process of making the decision to go ahead with the surgery that lasted 9 hours. And then, of course, as you can imagine, the recovery process was very, very long. But I'm here today and laughing, because that was also one of the risk factors that I had. The tumor being so close to the facial nerve, there was a huge risk of facial paralysis. And so as you can imagine, I'm tremendously grateful for the neurosurgeon that did an incredible job in removing 100% of the tumor. And I can still smile today. So it's an absolute blessing to be here today. And despite the very challenging period that's through, I truly believe that everything that we've basically launched in the application for Sparks 5, all the research that I have done, has actually helped me recover faster. Mm-hmm. And it has also been an inspiration that has now led to the first book that I'm about to write, which is called The Trilogy of Joy. I'll also be giving a TEDx talk in a couple of weeks from now on it. So I'm very, very happy once again to share a model that I've developed that has helped me to overcome adversity. It happened to be a health adversity, but I truly believe that this model can help other individuals overcome other types of adversities that could be health related, but it could be relationship related, financial related, professional related, and so on.
Well, it just goes to show you, not to state the obvious, that you should cherish every moment as much as possible, because you don't know what's going to happen, even best laid plans and everything, aside. So so congrats on that. I know your persistency, so never a doubt in my mind of where you're going. And what I'm also excited about is I'd like you to share with us about, we've talked about Sparks 5 evolving and the impact you have already made, even made on me, which is why we developed a friendship and so on. And so why you're excited about joining as a partner with Fifth Element to get well-being out there, to make it more prevalent in companies, maybe family offices in the world. Why are you excited about that, and why is it so important?
I truly believe that not only my own personal experience, but also the COVID years have really awakened us to looking at life in new ways. And this is really, as I said, a blessing to be here with you today and to be part of the Fifth Element group, because after the journey that I've been on, I really realized that no one is here, forever. No one is invincible. And I believe that there is greater opportunities if we join our forces, if we join our expertise, to expand the reach and the impact that we can have collectively. And already the impact that the Fifth Element has had, and the focus on ESG and the 17 UN SDGs are really very close to my heart. Even when we launched Sparks 5, we launched it as a purpose-driven organization. And from day one, we said our impact is not going to be just positive impact on optimizing the holistic well-being of individuals within corporations, but we're also going to be giving back to support basically the education of underprivileged kids, to plant trees, and also to give meals to local food banks. So as you can see, that connection point with the SDG goals has been very, very strong. The boards that I've been sitting on that have a philanthropic nature to them as well. So all these connection points right now, as I said, just created this magnet between what I've done until now and what the Fifth is doing. And I'm super excited about the opportunities ahead. And as we've discussed, the impact journeys right now, the well-being journeys, the talent journeys. I mean, there's so much positive contributions that we can now make collectively on this world. And I think it's so needed as a result of what we're seeing. And yes.
Yeah, clearly, in my conversations with executives for years, which is why we trademarked the term leaders who care, is that they've realized that they have to care more about their people to attract them, to retain them, and even to develop them is much more effective. And, one of the things, this we've had conversations on is, so how do they use the fact that they have a real well-being program and a well-being commitment to attract and keep the best people? And one of the biggest new positions right now, and I'd love to chat about it a little bit, is Chief Wellbeing Officer, and the opportunity that we have to not only help them find or determine who would be the best Chief Wellbeing Officer, but we can help that person hit the ground running and not have to develop a whole curriculum and program for their people. Can you share your opinion of that?
Yes, absolutely. I think that role of the Chief Wellbeing Officer is going to become prominent within the organization, particularly as we live now in a hybrid world. Despite the reopening of certain organizations, what has been shown across the world is that some employees no longer wish to go back into the office. So this is actually making the role of the leader even more complex. and prioritizing the well-being of employees, as we've seen, and there's extensive research on this, it's indicating that there's a direct correlation between the well-being of employees and the performance of organizations, whether it's financial performance, whether it's productivity, efficiencies across the organization, absenteeism, presentism, and of course, being a magnet to attract great employees. So I think if a company no longer has a well-being strategy that is solid enough to be able to keep its best employees and attract new ones, the end is likely near, unfortunately. It's a harsh reality to face, but I believe it has become a necessity, and the COVID situation has really brought this at the forefront, where everyone was potentially just ignoring the personal life realities of individuals, and now are recognizing that, wow, it is becoming a responsibility for the company to take care of the employees just because of the amount of hours that employees spend basically at work. And when we look at the statistics before the pandemic, a lot of CXOs did not believe it was their responsibility to take care of the well-being of employees, but those numbers have shifted completely, and we're seeing an evolution and a movement and an openness to hire the chief well-being officers, even chief purpose officers, and really reconnect in a completely new way with employees that fuels culture and productivity, and as I said, makes it more enjoyable for everyone and more human. Right? Because often, I've worked in certain organizations where I've advised certain companies in the past, and it's sad, but we still see these fear-driven organizations that really destroy motivation. And I would say that, being a leader myself, having led international teams, leadership comes with great responsibility. And one of the core responsibilities we have is is first of all to the individuals and the human beings that are part of our team, that we need to help flourish, evolve, and grow, and making it enjoyable for them to attain the objectives, and ensuring that we're giving all the elements and creating the conditions that allow those individuals to actually achieve those KPIs and performance metrics that we have set. So all leaders today, I think, need to rethink their roles, and we can no longer, as I said, ignore the well-being component, because it would just simply destroy organizations and cultures in the end.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had a discussion with an executive just earlier this week about how some of their employees are saying the well-being programs that they've had, even just fitness and whatnot, when they go home, they talk to their kids about it. And rather than just watching TV or whatever, let me tell you what happened at work today. It was pretty cool. We did this and this and this. And by the way, we talked about, what type of food we should eat or whatever it was in the particular program. So it actually impacts all the way down to the family as well, which is sometimes, missed. And if it does do that, then something Richard Branson told me when we were in London, actually, we had a conversation, and it turned into, no one talks about how proud they are about where they work anymore, like they used to. Now, different eras, but like they used to. And somebody said, well, I kind of like it, it's a job, whatever. But if you show you really care about, and I'd love you to comment on this, you care about the different points of well-being, and it relates to purpose quite a bit, where there's the financial well-being, there's the physical well-being, there's the mental well-being, which is a big deal right now. That actually goes down into the family. And if it impacts the family positively, the family is going to love where they work, where the parents work. And they're going to teach the kids, wow, work can really be impactful economically and socially. So look at the whole breadth of impact that can happen. So talk a little bit about that, and why it is so important for leaders to care, not to be cute, about all the types of well-being.
I fully agree with everything that you've said. The reality, and I talked about earlier about presentism, and often we ignore that reality among organizations. And what is presentism is when someone is actually at work, but thinking about all the other spheres in their lives, right? From their family issues, relationship issues, health issues, financial issues, and so on. We are human beings at work. right? And
Right.
consequently, when we help, or when organizations help individuals become better human beings, those human beings can contribute in a positive way, not only to the organization, but also to their family, to their community, and so on. And that's really the beauty of a lot of the work that I do and that I'm passionate about, because it's as simple as that. We are human beings and we cannot ignore that. And we cannot just put a mask as we walk into the organization and we walk into a meeting and we're someone else. The reality is that we have to bring that psychological safety. It's another important aspect that more and more companies are paying extended attention to. We need to let people be who they are. We need them not to be afraid to share that they have certain issues that whereby they may need maybe some vacation time or some time off, just because they will not be productive in the organization. And it's really important for companies to give that flexibility and also recognize that we live in a world with a multi-generational employees. The needs of a millennial could be very, very different from the needs of someone that is potentially due to be taking their maternity leave or maybe their retirement in a couple of months or years. So we need to adapt as leaders, I believe, our leadership styles. We need to remain curious to the needs of each one of the employees and see how we can basically make things work for everyone. And that is so essential. Often we think, oh, I'm a leader and I have to act in this specific way. But the reality is that we cannot forget about the human needs of each individual and always aspire to do things that allow them to meet those needs, while of course helping them grow and evolve in order to be a better contributor to the organization. And when we take care of our people, what research has shown is that this is when they're going to go above and beyond their duty, because they're just like so connected and they're like so happy to be contributing to the growth and to the evolution of the organization. And often the purpose of the company, if it connects with the purpose of the individual, that is really also the connection point where the passion that arises is really incredible. That
was one thing I was going to touch on. The company and the leaders might have a purpose for the company, which is fine. But talking to HR people, they're spending more and more attention right now, and well-being people, to also know what is the purpose of the individuals in their company. And you can have both of those involved, and they might even intersect at some point or whatnot. But individuals really get touched or love the fact that a leader of a company actually cares about what their purpose is, whether it may be a cause or spending time with their kid, whatever it may be. And that really impacts physical and mental well-being, does it not?
100%. And when we also help connect different employees within the company that have a similar interest or passion, research has also indicated that creates stronger friendships at work, which actually elevate the commitment and the engagement of employees. So it's so important that we create these flourishing environments where individuals can grow not only professionally, but also personally, depending on whatever passions they may have or whatever purpose they're aspiring to achieve.
We have a mutual friend that introduced us, who is now a senator in Canada, Tony Lafredo. So we put a shout out to him. And I think you've heard the story, and I repeated a lot of stories he told about how he has his direct employees that report to him spend time pretty well every morning, not just going by around to their direct reports and saying hi or stopping at their door and saying hi, but that they should sit down for 2 minutes, doesn't have to be long, sit down in the person's office for 2 minutes and saying, how's it going? What's going on? And the difference about just the wave at the door versus actually sitting down to say that is so impactful that it's a great example of, I think, of how you show someone that you really do care. That I found it to be a great example.
Indeed. And in the end, as I said, leadership comes with great responsibility. And one of those responsibilities is also to become a better people reader, to better look for those signs, not just what people say, look for the body language, look for the emotion. And even sometimes, people say, oh yeah, I'm doing great. But if you work with someone and whether you see them in person at work or virtually, and they don't look as good as normally they do, try to have that open ear and lend a helping hand. And it's so important that we listen without judgment and provide support when needed, because as I said, we're all living interesting lives, and sometimes things get tough, and it's important that leaders provide their support as much as they can.
It's important that leaders care. Bottom line, they just got to care. And so I'm super excited about the journey that we're on now, and being able to impact people's lives in their companies, in their businesses, in their personal stuff that they're doing, and that totally impacts the community in tremendous ways. I want to ask you one other question, but speaking to a major healthcare client, one of the things they've said, and you would know this, is they don't only want to take care of their patients in the hospital, their employees in the hospital, they want to go out there and take care of the community as well. And I think to me that kind of summarizes that it's all connected, basically, for everybody's well-being. So last question I want to ask you on this part is, a client told me in 2021, it's kind of interesting. He said, if I talk about the year 2020, it seems that it flew by slowly. And I thought that was like crazy comment in a way. But it kind of has, and you talked about an awakening before. What can you tell me you're most grateful for in this time? I think I know the answer, but grateful for in this time, but also, also most hopeful for.
What am I most grateful for? There's so much to be grateful for. And I can tell you that after my experience with my health, being grateful for being here, being able to smile, and having my head after the brain operation is an accomplishment in itself. So I have tremendous gratitude again for my health. And I think often we take a lot of these things that help us move along life for granted. And those are the things that I'm most grateful for my family, grateful again for my friends and everyone that I know that has supported me in different ways, whether it's emotionally, whether it's with advice or professionally. Do you see what I mean? Like there's a very broad network of individuals that have just contributed to making my life more joyful, and that I have tremendous gratitude for, and I have gratitude towards life. I mean, there's certainly a lot of mystery in what has happened to me over the last year and a half, and there's this awakening, I would say, that really makes you look at life in a completely new way. And often we think we are here forever and no one is invincible. But in the end, what I have found through my journey is that we have to enjoy every single day. And that's really connected to the second question that you have. What do I have hope for? Is that despite the world that we live in, with the many challenges, I think we also have an opportunity to look at the beauty of life, the beautiful things that are still happening in this world, and just have that gratitude and appreciation for what we have, rather than always aspiring to look into the future and be happy only when we achieve certain things in the future. I think that gratitude for the present moment and being able, to enjoy the sunshine, the flowers, as we go in a park and so on, that is something that I hope more and more people can take more joy in every day, because it's tremendously powerful.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks for being on the Leaders Who Care series. It wouldn't be a series without you being on it, really, so really appreciate it. I'm excited about what we're doing together, and thanks again.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, Mark.